So it's my opinion that London is pretty much one of the best places to learn day game. And the reason for that is because it is such a huge city with a wide variety of different types of people. And that's what makes it good. That's what makes it good for practicing and learning it. Because you get a lot of like busy natives or natives with established social circles who are more likely to reject you or blow you out, and then you've got a lot of foreign girls coming over, foreigners or tourists who are a bit more receptive, a bit more friendly. So you get like a wide mix of different types of people, which makes it a good place. Just because of the different types of people. You go to some cities and like everybody's more or less the same, and it's all you kind of know what to expect. But in London, it's all a bit different, and you get different types of more different types of personalities, I would say, as well. Like some who are just really shy, some who are really extroverted, some who've got like really good banter, others who are really serious. Just get a really good variety, and that's why it's one of the best places to learn this stuff. And also it's a good place because it can be crowded in certain places, it can be very busy, and there's other kind of areas which are a bit more sort of chilled out. So you get that good mix, I think, in terms of the environmental context, I think, with London. I've always gone on about how London isn't quite what it used to be, in terms of the quality. The girls aren't as attractive now, it seems like. And I think a large part of that is obviously because a lot of the foreign girls have gone back home, whether that's because of Brexit or COVID or a combination of the two. There's obviously, I've certainly noticed it, and a lot of other guys have said the same thing. It's not quite what it used to be. But I guess you just have to kind of work with what you've got, really. I mean, if you're living in London or you're from the UK, that's where you are. So that's how you just have to deal with it. Obviously, if you can go abroad, fantastic. I know not everybody has that option, not everyone has that luxury. So you just have to make the best of the situation. Don't think like, oh, London isn't as good now as it used to be, so there's no point. So I'll just give up now. No, I mean, there's still a lot of potential out there because it's London. It's London. It's a huge city. It always has been very, very cosmopolitan. Lots of people coming and going. So you never know what you're going to find in London. I mean, even just the other day, I had this amazing instant date with a Brazilian girl, and it was a fantastic experience. So you never know what you're going to get in London. So that's another thing. It's a good training ground, and it's very, very sort of transient, massive metropolis. So like people are always coming and going. You're never going to see the same person again. So you've got that anonymity factor. That's very much in place in London, and like a lot of guys are kind of afraid of like the spotlight effect. What happens if somebody else sees me doing it? And yeah, I mean, no matter where you are in the world, if you do it and there's somebody within earshot or they see you doing it, there is a decent possibility that they're going to kind of look at you for a few seconds, but no one really ultimately gives a shit. It's not like you get stared down into the ground by somebody, even though that has happened in London. It has happened a few times with me, but generally speaking, no one gives a shit. They might overhear you saying excuse me, blah 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 blah, but then after that they just carry on with their day. They don't really care that much. So it's very, very anonymous, and no one really cares. And that's another nice thing about London. I would say that London is actually one of the more difficult places to do day game or learn day game, but that's what makes it good. That's actually what makes it a good thing. You want it to be difficult, you want it to be a little bit tough, because if you can do well in London, if you can master London, then you can transfer it to anywhere. Because generally speaking, when you go abroad, it is easier. It's easier to get girls to stop. It's easier to engage with them. It's easier to find girls who are more receptive, more polite, more friendly, more willing to engage with you. And you're not always going to get that in London. You're going to get some, relatively not harsh, but like somewhat kind of, just slightly harsh kind of blowouts. You're going to get some girls who are just going to ignore you. Some are just going to like look at you and then just look away and just And some guys can really take that very personally. But it's good to expose yourself to that because everybody gets that from time to time. So that's another thing. When you go abroad, it is infinitely better, but it's also easier. But that's what makes London good. It's that you get that practice in. If you can do well in London, everywhere else is just much easier in comparison. And also because like You know, if you compare like London to, like, for example, a second world country, you know, the English levels might not be as good, so you're having kind of more basic conversations. But also, just in terms of like social ability, like, you're going to have more sort of, you have the potential to have more sort of intricate or elaborate conversations in London just because of the language. And also partly the culture. You know, you can have more banter, more jokes, you can actually, you know, have deeper conversations, I find. Whereas sometimes when you go abroad, you have to really kind of tone it down, keep it things simple, just basic language, that kind of thing. So it's much easier in comparison. But yeah, I mean, what I recommend for guys in the UK or even just anywhere in the West, you know, America, Australia, whatever. Yeah, I mean, don't be disheartened because it's not as good as abroad, but obviously spend your time if you can abroad, because it's just better. It's easier and it's better abroad. So like, you know, if you're working a normal job, maybe you've got like a month's holiday, maybe, you know, and you're a single guy, you've got to spend a bit of holiday time, you know, use that really wisely if I were you. You know, spend, if possible, spend the whole month somewhere, if, you know, and do that like once a year. If that's not possible, which probably wouldn't be in most jobs, maybe you can do like 2 weeks one place and then another 2 weeks in another place, and that's your yearly allowance or for holidays. That's what I'd recommend. You know, I know like some guys like to just spend 1 week here, 1 week there, and just visit a whole bunch of places, which is fine if you really want to visit those places. But if you really want to have an amazing dating experience, I recommend staying in a place for minimum 2 weeks, because that allows you enough time to build up a pipeline of leads and to go on dates, because it's very difficult to do that in a week, because it takes a few days to build up you know, a decent pipeline of new leads, and that's anywhere. It doesn't matter where it is, you know. But also, you know, arranging dates, because, you know, girls might, you know, even if you get a girl who's like available or whatever and interested, you know, she's got her own logistics to worry about. So like, she might not be available on a certain day, and then you're like, you know, trying to arrange it on the last day of the holiday, and it's like you're just putting a lot of pressure to fit everything in a limited amount of time, whereas 2 weeks is much easier to do that. So yeah, that's what I recommend. If you've got a normal job and you've got the normal allowance of about a month's worth of holiday, spend 2 weeks somewhere in the year, and then later on in the year spend another 2 weeks somewhere else, and yeah, you'll have an amazing experience. But the thing is, like, just because it's easier abroad, you still need to be decent at it. So like, if you're from the West, if you're from somewhere like the UK or London, then yeah, you should really try and master it in London before like really going abroad, because it's not going to be like, oh yeah, London shit, and then I'll just go abroad and do it. Because then when you go abroad, you know, you're just going to be rusty and you're going to be out of practice, and you know, it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be as fulfilling as if you had already had that momentum and that practice. So you know, you've already got that built up, then you go abroad and you have an amazing time. So that's really what it's about, actually. So don't think that, you know, you can just do nothing, then go abroad and then it's just easy mode. It doesn't really, you know, really work like that. You know, you're still going to get rejections, you're still going to get blowouts and flakes, etc. So that's why, you know, practice in London, do as best as you can, and then go abroad and you'll have an amazing time. Thanks for watching. If you want to be able to do what you see me do in these videos, head over to my online course, which covers pretty much everything you need to know about Daygame to get to a good level and actually implement it in a manageable way. Link is in the description.